Welcome everyone to today's exciting Zoom webinar. We are thrilled to have all of you join us for this engaging session. Our distinguished speaker, Ankita Anand, is a renowned journalist and editor with Unbiased the News, and she's also co-founder of Gender Beat, a collective working for better and more feminist journalism worldwide. Ankita has her expertise in gender reporting, social justice issues. She'll guide us on how journalists should adhere to the principles like equal representation, challenging stereotypes, and also inclusive language. So she'll offer us valuable knowledge and offer practical strategies that we can apply in our work. We encourage all of you to participate actively by sharing, asking questions and sharing your thoughts throughout the session. So, yeah, let's make this collaborative and enriching experience for everyone. And without further ado, please join me in welcoming Ankita Anand.
Thank you, Alia. I'm very happy to be here because we need people to do this more and more and not, there are journalists like us who know for a fact that gender reporting is not done enough. And when it is done, it is not done sensitively enough by a lot of people in the mainstream media. I know that the people here are already people who are, sensitive and want to do their job better. And that's why we are here. So I'm glad that we are doing this. Otherwise, in mainstream media, it's like, oh, this is passe. How much more are we going to talk about gender? When we were forming the gender beat, there was this joke that maybe we should call it not this again. कि अरे वो women's day पे किया तो था अभी फिर से करना है क्या ये so
Absolutely.
that going beyond that beyond tokenism. So I think since people here listening to the introductions, I feel like people would know a little about it, but I would share some things from my experience, from my readings. And then I would like also people to have their questions and their experiences, because it's also, I think, what you have created through this collective is also a space where hopefully we can bring questions and dilemmas that we cannot take to other places.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to share some images. This is my gender sensitive reporting campaign, which I did in 2018. I had a petition on change.org asking media houses not to use problematic images when they cover sexual violence reporting. At that point, I was focusing on sexual violence reporting. So anyway, I shared these images with them, and to convince them, I also needed some support from people. So I had to gather a lot of signatures from people. So I did workshops. I was talking to people about why these images are problematic, and thankfully, a lot of people could see the point. So, like Naja was saying, when she does a lot of positive reporting, and this is not a this is clearly not positive reporting, and we cannot see anything positive in sexual violence also, but then we make things even worse because we act like women do not have any agency.
Absolutely.
Women are these becharis, and we create this animalistic predator prey imagery, which makes things worse, because when we are seeing these images, we are feeling very helpless. We are feeling insulted. When the families see the images, the families who are stopping women from stepping out, they would feel like, okay, things are so bad, and this is who you are. You are just a scared little girl in the corner, and you should not step out. So it makes things worse, even though people feel like we are doing a good job because we are writing that this assault happened. So that's the difference also, that a lot of people think they are doing something good simply by reporting on gender issues. Now, that is important. It is important to document any kind of violence that is, based on gender. But the first journalistic principle is do no harm. And when we do this, we cause this harm of furthering stereotypes. The perpetrators, anyone who's kind of, has that perpetrator mindset, they would feel like, oh, yes, women are so easy to attack. So let's, go ahead and attack them. Now, if we look at images of survivors, this is Bhavri Devi, who has been, she has kind of been open about her identity and also fought. So this is the kind of people who are actually people who are who have fought for their rights as survivors. They have fought for justice, but they don't look anything like the.
Becharis, as you rightly said.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and we also dehumanize them when we portray them like that. It doesn't mean that their pain is any less. It doesn't mean that if they're smiling, they do not have trauma. Sometimes, I mean, this is something that they have to deal with all their life. But it also does not mean that it is their only identity, and that's what a lot of these women have been saying. A
Hmm.
lot of these women made the choice to also reveal the identity, which as journalists we do not do, but it was their personal choice in some of these cases to also come out their identity, like what is happening in France now with the Giselle Picot case, where the woman said that shame has to change sides and therefore I will be out in the public. And now you see the men who were the assaulters going with their faces covered. So people were also saying, but what to do? Like how to then portray, because we cannot portray the survivor, we have to protect their identity. And so many women have fought. I mean, I remember the case of this 14-year young girl in Jharkhand who fought and ran away. She wasn't some urban woman, with sophisticated degrees, but she fought this. So these images should also come out. Yeah, we are not the ones deciding something when we are choosing the images or choosing the headlines. But we can keep this sentiment in mind. And when our editors say, if we tell our editors that we would like these images to be used, we can tell them, okay, there are these images available online for free, there are no copyright issues, and we can use them. But also, what these positive images signified is a sentiment that we can keep in mind while reporting. That when we report, even with our words, or with whether we are doing audio, with some kind of a podcast, or reporting in text, we can keep the sentiment in mind that the shame should not be on the woman's side. She should not be looking like this hapless victim. So that is one very basic thing. And so this campaign then did win, and News 18 at the time had said that they would remove the images, the old images. And then there is, so I feel like there are three things here. One is gender reporting on gender issues, which may or may not be sensitive. The second is gender sensitive reporting. And the third is taking it slightly further and calling it gender journalism or feminist journalism, where we put a lens on reporting, which is put the lens on whatever, whether it's climate, whether it's business reporting, but the feminist in us is always alive and the lens is always there कि इसका औरतों पे क्या असर है या इसका ट्रांस मेन पे क्या असर पड़ेगा इस लॉ so always having that in mind and making our journalism inclusive. So even if we are not reporting on women, even if we are not reporting on LGBTQ rights, we can be aware of that lens कि वो हम बत्ती अपने दिमाग में चला के रखें. So one of the things I was doing during this campaign, I was reading a lot of manuals. I also was reading them before I would report on sexual violence because I was a little scared also that I should not cause any harm. So I was just revising everything, going through things, and I found a really helpful uh, manual called the Chicago Task Force on Sexual Violence Reporting, I think it is called. And they also take from the Dart Center. And then Feminism in India has done its own. Uh, it has taken from these two resources, but also then given a lot of Indian examples. So there is this thing of looking at an incident versus looking like a pattern. अब छोटे छोटे कॉलम्स में तो हमारे पास बहुत न्यूज़ पहुंचती है कि यहाँ पे ये हो गया, रेप हो गया, या कोई अपने घर में किसी ने अपनी पत्नी को मार दिया. दैट वाज अ केस ऑफ आल्सो जेंडर वायलेंस. बट एंड दैट इज इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर डॉक्यूमेंटेशन. क्राइम रिकॉर्ड्स ब्यूरो के नंबर्स उससे आते हैं, इस तरह के रिपोर्टिंग से आते हैं. सो इट इज डेफिनेटली इम्पोर्टेंट. बट आई फील लाइक ये जो कलेक्टिव है, फ्रीलांसर्स कलेक्टिव है, तो फ्रीलांसिंग के सारे चैलेंजेस एक तरफ, एंड देन द बेनिफिट दैट वी हैव of reporting a little deeper, and that is what we get we get commissioned for. That is what we get our grants and fellowships for. Now because we have this privilege, so we have a higher word limit going beyond a column, and we can look at patterns rather than just this one incident. So why, if we are reporting at one incident, we can look at, okay, what is the domestic violence scene here? If a sexual assault has happened, and I'm talking to the family of the perpetrator or the accused rather in at this stage, and the family says ki ye to, young boys sometimes make mistakes. We do not want them to be punished. Now, if I can make this bigger and go back to the chief minister's statement who 2 months ago said that young boys make this. So I can make the connection that this is the kind of messaging going on in this state. And the political leaders that we have also chosen are kind of, in a way, encouraging boys, saying that they will be forgiven very easily if they do, even if they do something as brutal as this. So we make those connections. इससे क्या होता है कि that, uh, what is called the monster theory. Oh, these are monsters. But put them in a line and shoot them. But then we are not taking responsibility for the fact of how we have made society, what happens inside a family, the quiet violence that happens inside, what happens inside a society every single day. If I go on public transport, I have to be super alert, not to be groped. And if I get groped, then I will get frustrated कि मैं क्यों alert नहीं थी जबकि मेरी गलती भी नहीं थी. So how violence is embedded in society, we stop questioning that, or our readers stop questioning that, and इसको सजा दे दो या इसको फांसी पे चढ़ा दो, especially if they are coming from an oppressed class or caste. If they are very rich and influential, then people also try to protect them. So that is the benefit of pattern reporting, that you make every person accountable, and they can't just say, oh, but this is something that the police or the judiciary should take care of. If we make these connections that, okay, this is a state in which this has happened, or this much infanticide has happened, or feticide has happened, we show that no, all of you are also adding to this culture. So don't, I mean, of course, those young men should be punished. We are not against that. But you cannot stop here. We also have to take these other measures. And what then also happens is then we can bring in other stakeholders. So if somebody's, if we feel like, ठीक है, एक sexual violence का incident हुआ, and then, okay, this was a school going girl and it happened to her while going to school. Let's see what is happening. What is happening to the state of education for these girls? So for this age group. And maybe we'll feel like there are a lot of dropouts, and there have been some cases. So we can make that connection of how sexual violence is not just traumatic as it is, not just harming the girls physically. Because after some such cases, people stop sending their girls to school in this. Then we are also getting the education sector people involved. What can you do about it? Or when you lobby the government for a better policy, can you also bring up this point saying this is also, safety around the schools also need to be better. Toilets need to be at a safer place, and so they don't go far away. So we open a lot of possibilities for correction, for reform. And instead of compassion fatigue of, okay, people opening the newspaper or opening their tablets and saying, oh, one more rape, scroll down. At least they are looking at something larger, and there are these calls to action that no, there is something we can do. If you are working in this sector, this is what you can do. And we open newer conversations. So the frustration kind of opens the way for something more or a different angle. While, of course, that, the sexual violence counseling and all of that help should still be done, there's also some bigger change we should try to do. And of course, there are simple things like active voice versus passive voice, like how the image focused on the men. और बहुत फर्क पड़ता है अगर हम ऐसा लैंग्वेज यूज करें कि भाई allegedly इसने रेप किया वर्सेस द अक्यूज्ड. सो बिकॉज और हर वर्ड का अपना एक यूज होते होते उसका एक इम्प्रेशन भी बन जाता है लोगों के दिमाग में. सो नाउ allegedly is something that has kind of a negative connotation, slightly negative, कि अच्छा alleged है भाई, पता नहीं कोई झूठा इल्जाम तो नहीं होगा. But the minute we see that the accused, we are saying that no, we are seeing this person as the accused. Alleged में क्या कर रहे हैं कि हम दूसरे पे रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी डाल रहे हैं कि भाई अब वो प्रूव करेगी तो सच होगा. सो देयर आर दीज माइनर थिंग्स जो कि हमारे दिमाग पे बहुत असर डालता है, रीडर के दिमाग पे या व्यूअर के दिमाग पे, कि किस तरह के शब्दों का इस्तेमाल हो रहा है. एंड सेइंग थिंग्स लाइक दिस पर्सन or even when we say accused, the accused had sex with a 16-year-old girl. Now it's not sex, it's, or a 13-year-old girl, it's rape. So you have to, तो वो जो इसका लीगल टर्म है, अगर एज ऑफ कंसेंट वगैरह आप देखें तो वो रेप ही है, क्योंकि अगर कोई बच्चा कोई कंसेंट देने की पोजीशन में नहीं है तो डोंट यूज सिंपल टर्म्स लाइक हैड सेक्स विद दैट पर्सन. सो बी वेरी क्लियर ऑफ द क्रिमिनल एक्ट दैट इज देयर फ्रॉम द बिगनिंग. एंड ऑफ कोर्स देन समटाइम्स without realizing there are some sensational details, gory details. Abhi bahut zyada now we see this replication of, okay, if this kind of harm was caused to a woman during sexual violence, those exact kind of details are being replicated in some other crime. So maybe these are not all the details of violence that happened. We can say that it was a gory act, etc. Now we don't have to go into every single detail unless we feel like this has a purpose. These papers will be in front of the judge. So if they had to decide a punishment, they can still look at all the details and say that since this act was particularly barbaric, we are having a particularly strict punishment. So it's not like that will change. But do we really need all the details to be in front of the general public? It is also about the dignity of the survivors or the victims' family. Even if they are not alive, the family, has some dignity and they want to preserve the dignity of the deceased also. So really thinking of, if I'm putting any detail, what purpose is it serving? And if it is serving a negative purpose, then let's take out details of any such violent crime. And of course, there's a different kind of sensitivity, क्योंकि सिर्फ ऐसा नहीं है कि violence reporting ही है, gender की बहुत तरह की reporting है. So one simple sensitive thing which we have often talked about is get more women to answer. Like recently, I met someone who said that they work as this local source person fixing for foreign journalists, and they are from the LGBTQ community, and they make sure that when they are asked for local experts, they give the names of the LGBTQ people who are working on the issues. So now we have this kind of a gender diverse inputs in our article, and not just from this white person or this upper caste majority religion white person always Indian person always speaking on the same issue. So these are also examples of gender sensitivity about whose quotes are we getting in. Like I had to interview the sarpanch, and बहुत रास्ता पूछ के गांव के अंदर में गई तो बोला कि ये है, and I confirmed कि, and then I said, okay, give me your name. And when they gave the name, I mean, they said, yeah, I mean, this is my name and I am the husband. So till then they're not revealing that they are the husband of the woman. And I said, no, but I don't want to talk to the husband. I want to talk to the woman. So they said, wo to andar hai. So I said, if you allow me, I will go and speak to her. And she was very shy because of course she had been treated this way कि मैं क्या बताऊंगी, मेरे पास तो क्या ही है बोलने के लिए. So it took some cajoling to get a statement out of her. So there are also those, maybe we have to go a little bit of extra mile to get statements from women and gender minorities, but it is really worth it because they give the perspective which is relevant to them, and the story also seems much more fresh. And I do it with men also. So I was doing this sports story in Haryana, and I asked a sports person, I said कि आप तो इतने busy रहते हैं, तो आप फैमिली और बच्चों को कैसे संभालते हैं? And he said, नहीं मैं वीकेंड पे आता हूँ और फिर मैं फैमिली के साथ रहता हूँ. And that's also very interesting, right? Because a woman who's constantly asked these questions, जो men को नहीं पूछते हैं, उनको तो their answer is very different. So for men, time is, for women, they have to justify that they are working outside, and they have to justify that, okay, we are doing everything at home, only then we are going out, so I am a good woman. And the man is kind of being very generous and, patronizing, saying, nahi, weekends pe to main inko deta hu time. So sometimes just flipping those questions, sending them back to men, seeing the answers, doing comparisons. So there are various ways of, being more, bringing in more gender parity in our work. And again, the talking of gender reporting or feminist reporting, which we said earlier is, even going beyond sensitivity and putting this lens. Like when I did the story of sex education and how it is impacting a relationship. So I really wanted to start at the baseline, that forget premarital sex, forget sex among single women and how it affects them, the violence they face, etc. Even if we are the most conservative people on earth, if we look at sex only as a means of reproduction, even then, do people have education even for that? So I looked at marital couples, I looked at men and women, and I looked at how the lack of education is bringing, not only having a very negative impact on the relationships, but also putting women at risk of violence. So if a woman expresses a sexual need, she's facing violence by the husband, because the husband says कि इसने कैसे बोला? As a woman, how did she speak out about it? It means that she had a lot of relationships before the marriage, and then he gets all jealous and starts hitting her. So looking at a bigger picture and look, so then I kind of try to make a case of how we need sex education for everyone, because women to violence झेल ही रही हैं, but also there are these men who are facing a lot of pressures in relationships. They're facing insecurity. The relationships are getting spoiled. So sometimes just taking a step back and looking at how the framing of this can maybe bring in more readers. So now this will bring in men also, because men are also reading about अच्छा sexual wellness के platforms क्या हैं, या अगर reproductive health की बात करनी है तो कहाँ पे maybe they want to support the wife, but they are scared of their parents, but they are reading something where they feel like, okay, I can go with my wife to this place and things will be kept confidential. It's not just that we have to go to the hospital. There are NGOs also who do this kind of service. So again, thinking of gender in broad terms and not just looking at the women as the victims, but also sometimes looking at the role men play, or sometimes also looking at the violence or the insecurity, the pressures they face, which kind of makes them more misogynist, but doesn't necessarily make their lives better or happier. So again, to also make it intersectional, like I talked of earlier, I recently met this woman who was from an NGO, and she said that she felt very proud of herself because she had distributed a lot of pads to women. And because women don't have access to pads, they have to bleed, and there are hygiene issues. So she said that there were young women who were not coming to school, and she went to those women and she said कि तुम school क्यों नहीं आ रही? And the child said that because I'm on my period. And she said, but मैंने तो pad दिया. She said, we do not have underwear. And then the woman was very angry because she in her head was thinking that मैं तो बहुत अच्छा काम कर रही हूँ pads बांट के. So she said, no, you are lying. How is this possible? And then she said, no, why would I lie about something like this? And she talked to more women, and she realized how people have been sharing the underwear कि जिस समय जिसका period होगा, she will wear the underwear and go to school on that day, etc. Which means they are missing, big chunk of their school days if they are splitting like this. So then, from the lens of period, hygiene, pads, they shifted their perspective to, okay, poverty, which classes, which castes are facing it more here. Who can we bring in to address the question of resources, the question of money? So again, you open it up. So keep looking at how you can open it up, ताकि वो gender reporting या ये तो औरतों का मसला है करके वो dismiss नहीं कर दे. जितने ज्यादा हमारे stakeholders बढ़ेंगे, हमारा chance बढ़ेगा कि attention देने के लिए अब हमारे पास अगेन सिर्फ वो मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ वुमेन एंड चाइल्ड नहीं है, और ये 4 लोग भी हैं, और ये वाला एंगल डाल के हम उनसे भी कुछ जवाब मांग सकते हैं. So yeah, another example that I recently had was I bought this book on Myanmar women. A lot of them are displaced internally because of conflict, and I read the story where a man raped a woman because she wanted to leave the man. She was in a relationship with him, and she found that he is abusive. She wanted to leave him, and he raped her. And she said, he said, now I made you pregnant, so no other man is going to accept you. And now you will be forced to live with me all my life. And she was forced to marry him, and she was with him for some time when she was extremely unhappy, of course. And finally, she left him. She got support from NGOs. So now this is a sexual violence story, but it's also a reproductive rights story. जैसे अभी यूएस में abortion rights को लेके काफी चर्चा चल रही है. So if there is a woman who faces this, what are her reproductive rights in Myanmar? Who can she go to? So again, rather than just looking at it as this one case, which would appear in that column, there are these various angles. There is the question of conflict, that this, first of all, ये तो displacement हुआ उसका, she was in an insecure place where she had to rely on this man. Then this whole thing happened. And then there's also the question of culture, of who would be an impure woman. So the man was confident that once she's pregnant, she would be seen as impure. Nobody would marry. So there's a question of culture, there's the question of reproductive rights, there's the question of what is the kind of situation in families that instead of fighting the man, they're forcing her to marry and they're blaming her. Of course, very similar to, our own cultures. But you can pick the angle that you want to explore. Apart from that one, again, this is not the incident framing, but the systemic framing of the issue. So I think I've spoken enough. I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, Ankita, thank you so much for these valuable insights. I have a quick question. Like, I know you have talked about how we can just change this, pattern of, as Nadia was also talking about this negative reporting all the time. Can you little bit talk about like how the solution, you have talked about it, but little more about like how solution journalism can foster a more constructive dialogue and around these social issues, because as you said, when we always show them in negative light, I mean it doesn't, it's not helpful. But we as women journalists, if we are interested, like how we can better be better inform ourselves and be conscious, be that uh, sourcing, like quoting of sources, how we can better like construct overall dialogue through using more often solution lens.
Yeah, I think that's very important. I'm glad you asked because I didn't speak enough about it. From a solutions lens, what is really helpful, and I've also been speaking to a lot of editors, looking at what they want, they don't want, and so in gender journalism, what people like somebody who's very dedicated, like publications who are dedicated to feminist journalism, they would say if we cover this one single woman who turned out to be a hero, that is not gender journalism, that is not feminist journalism, because it's a lone example. It also puts a lot of pressure on others कि वो कर सकती है तो तुम क्यों नहीं कर सकते हो. सुनीता कृष्णन ने पूरा एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन खोल लिया, या so you should, now everyone does not have the same capacity. Their personal traumas are very different, their histories are different, their caste class location is very different, so you can't, so when we put someone on a pedestal, it's like now everyone has to reach that standard, but not everyone has the same kind of context, not to belittle the work of this lone person for whom also it was not easy. So then if we want to put solution stories out there, and if we don't want to put these single lone cases, which kind of sometimes take the responsibility away from the system and put it on the individual. तो सिस्टम को भी तो अपना एक सपोर्ट स्ट्रक्चर क्रिएट करना है ना कि हम अच्छा कर पाए. इट शुडंट बी ऑलवेज दैट आई फॉट अगेंस्ट द सिस्टम एंड आई एम अ दशरथ मांझी हु हैड टू पहाड़ तोड़ना पड़ा. मुझे ये हमेशा नहीं होना चाहिए ना. पहाड़ एक छोटी सी सड़क के लिए मुझे क्यों पहाड़ तोड़ना चाहिए. सो आई मीन ही वाज ग्रेट, बट not everyone should have to go through it. So then one good example is to probably look at if I feel like, okay, I went to one place and I see that women are doing very well through organic farming, they are bringing in climate resilience. So here they are not the victim, they are actually providing solutions not just to themselves or women, but the whole community, regardless of gender. Then I will find more such examples. So then the focus will not just be on one, hero kind of a woman, but the focus will be on the practice. So we'll look at a bunch of women, maybe in the same state, maybe in different states. And then we'll look at the practice of organic farming. We'll look at what endeavors the women are doing. We will also look at the limitations, what are the failings, what are the challenges. And then we will showcase the story out there. We will look at what is replicable also. Maybe you could even, if the editor allows for it, you could even have a box item of a how to think that these are the steps you can take if you want to do climate resilient agriculture. And all these quotes will be coming from women who we know have been doing so much work on land but still do not get their due recognition as farmers. So this can be an example of a positive solution story where women are leading change, but it's not just about one woman, it's about a community. Like I was doing this story yet to be published on women in Punjab who are doing this kind of a farming. And it's very interesting to look at the nuances because there is this woman who got widowed and now she's independent. So she's very proud of her financial independence through organic farming. But also, somewhere the old conditioning and the old patriarchal rules of the society are coming in because लोग बोल रहे हैं अरे अचार मुझे दे दो एक बोतल लहसुन का मुझे दे दो तो if you are just and the woman is feeling कि कैसे मना करे हमारे रिश्तेदार तो ऐसे तो आप बिजनेस नहीं कर सकते ना so she is managing to sell but also this image of the woman as a constant carer and nurturer and you don't say no to food but also when food is your business you have to say no to food and people also have to understand that they should not pressurize these women for free bottles of pickle so these little nuances also come in and when you write about them you can show that okay this is what this will probably be the challenges and limitations part where the society can step in instead of thinking that oh what can we do this is a huge problem we can't do anything so you can make a solution story come out very well and also be realistic with challenges where your reader can also step in and maybe they are not in Punjab, they're in some other state, but they will be more sensitive to okay, how can we support women who are being entrepreneurs?
Yeah. So, the floor is open for questions. Please feel free to turn on your cameras and ask.
Hello. I couldn't respond when you asked in the beginning about that those images. When you showed the images, my little girl was with me, so I couldn't talk at that time. So those images, I think we had a discussion on LinkedIn sometime back, last month or so, about such images, and the Wire has a story on that also, like using positive images, emboldening images for such stories. So this is the normal thing that we see is most of the images will have the woman like doing like this, and this is the most disturbing thing ever. So this using these positive images will surely embolden the women also, other women also. And also, in a recent incident that we used in Kerala is that we gave a picture of handcuffs near the man for such an image. My friend made the image. She just picked images from somewhere else and joined together everything. So I just wanted to say that giving more than emboldened women, giving a message that the man will be punished, he will be behind bars. Such image also should be given in the images that we give for sexual violence stories. I think. So just wanted to share that.
That's a very good point, and that's so strong that this is a crime, and you are going to be held accountable for this. And handcuffs and jail are, I mean, a strong visual imagery that people wouldn't want to associate themselves with.
Hi, Ankita. Yeah, I was listening to you and I realized that how it's so much important to look into the nuances of every story that you cover. And so this also give me an idea that when I am covering or interviewing women, especially survivors of trafficking or gender-based violence, uh, um, every time focusing on the issue or the suffering, we should also look into the roles of stakeholders. How can they also play a pivotal role in making her story, turning that suffering into something where she can benefit from, from that. and often we face that problem, which we face the challenge because uh, a every time we try to pitch a story to the editors, they always look for numbers, like there should be more than one victim, one voice. Importance. I think Pari Network, for that matter, I really like to give them credit and applause because while we did a story with them on sexual gender-based violence, and the story that I gave is about just one girl, and they gave full importance and to her, her story, and and they gave equal importance to each and every detail. So I think this is also one of the factors that every newsroom need to adopt, that single case or single woman story are as equal, are as important as more numbers, especially the women as a victim. And this is a biggest challenge that we face with most media houses. Second, with the pictures and videos, most media houses do not, often go back to the same old format of using way handkerchief wala, covering her face, or the where the abuser is towering the victim. Uh, so I want to understand, it is right if the victim wants has given me the consent to share some of her pictures, where, for example, in the case in the story which I did with the Pari Network, we provided the picture of her, cut marks, because she wanted to be identified by those marks, because she says that it is important for people who are reading my story to understand the kind of violence that we go through. And also, when we talk about violence, it's not every time somebody has beaten me up or has given me the suffering. Sometimes it is also self-inflicted, like because that the way they respond to trauma, they start harming themselves. And I was giving the story to another publication. They refused, but Pari Network, with that consent, we published. So but most editors don't agree to publish those images of victim suffering, saying no, yeah, like these are not like ethical, or not correct. What do you have to say on this?
To your first point, I think it is really important to get those single person stories out there, because this is the opposite of making them heroes, right? This is uh, kind of representing the larger situation through one person's story. And if we just keep giving statistics, we also know that people would not relate to it. But if we tell a real human being story, it would be more relatable. It would also be easier to understand. So, yeah, people should definitely make space for it. And also, it's so hard to get access, right? Access, consent, dangers of re-traumatizing. Now, after going through all those considerations, if you have found someone who is willing to speak and you also think it is okay to get her story, uh, it's not possible to always get 10 people telling their stories. And then maybe not every story will be done justice to if we try to include 10 accounts. So I agree that that is important, and more editors should make space for it. It can be the center, and of course, then we also bring in the numbers, the statistics, other maybe shorter examples. The second part, I think, really differs from editor to editor. As a freelance journalist, I relied very heavily on trainings. So I always used to ask in every training, Reuters, TRF, Thomson Reuters Foundation used to do so many. And I've always brought up this question, that how do we deal with this identity question when somebody is willing? Because if I am a sexual assault survivor, and if I say that no, I want my name and face to be out there because I am not ashamed, then I would feel like, yeah, I mean, I am a consenting adult. I know my rights. I know what risks I'm taking, and I also have the right to take those risks. So put it out there. But then there are some people who would feel like, no, this would put her in danger. Even if she's saying it, we are not going to put it out there. Recently, I was talking to someone who works at a global publication. She's an editor, and she said that, no, that's a very patronizing attitude to women. If they feel like they have to put it out there, they should be able to do it. So I think it will really depend on the publication, because I kind of I always saw it as a dilemma, and I did not get any clear answer. So, I mean, we do look at risks, we do look at how far we are from the person, even if we are in the same village or town. We may not be able to exactly help them if they are being targeted in some way. But of course, if we have told them of all the possible risks and they are willing, I think it's a question we need to brainstorm over with the editor. Because all these women, all these images that I showed earlier of Suzette Jordan or uh, Sohaila Abdulali, they never said that, okay, we decided to put our image out there and then we regretted it. Uh, so I think it will have to be dealt with on a case to case basis of whether people know all the risks and they're willing to put it out there. And if there's a publication that is also willing, then there's also the law to consider, right? Because I am understanding the risks, the protagonist and understanding all the risks is willing. But if the law is something that is going to put me in trouble, then my hands would again still be tied because I would be doing something illegal. So, what is the law in that particular situation will also have to be looked at.
Do we have any other question, comment
Yes,
before we wrap up the session?
Yes, so you're saying gender will have to go under the development reporting itself for the major publications, right?
I mean, that is something I try to do. Honestly, as a freelancer, probably left to myself, I would just have pitched many more gender stories. But because I do not see so many grants saying, okay, we will give you this money for reporting on uh, gender issues or doing feminist journalism, then I have to think of, okay, where to attach it. Somebody is saying marginalized community, somebody is saying conflict. So I keep trying to push my agenda, if to put it one way, कि हम लोग क्यों छोड़े इसको क्योंकि सपोर्ट नहीं मिल रहा, वी विल फाइंड अ वे.
Yeah,
हमारा तो वही है फ्रीलांसर्स का और औरतों का जो होता है कि हर जगह हमें जुगाड़ की आदत हो जाती है कि वी विल वर्क विथ व्हाट वी हैव बट वी वोंट गिव अप. So that's what I have also been doing.
I think we are done with the session. So as we conclude today's enlightening webinar on gender reporting, I want to thank our distinguished guest, Ankita, for sharing her invaluable insights, experiences, expertise. Really, your contributions have not only deepened our understanding of gender issues, but really highlighted, the critical role gender reporting can play, like especially how journalists can shape up these narratives and challenge stereotypes and promote equality. And I think some of the key takeaways are like the best practices, challenging stereotypes, be it in image or with the text, or quoting the sources, and also calling for action, which is like solution journalism. So thank you so much, Ankita. We appreciate your participation as well as the participation of each and every member, and we hope you found the session informative and inspiring. Please feel free to reach out with any further questions or thoughts, and remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Let's keep discussing and advocating for better gender representation in media. Thank you once again for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at our future events.
Thank you so much for having me and listening. And I know not all answers are easy, but because we have WFC, I hope we'll keep discussing.
Thank you.